Welcome to the Jag War Podcast, a show where we discuss all things related to Duval County's finest NFL football team, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Move 42, set, fight!
Duval, baby!
49ers Ultimate Report. This is John Jay, your 49ers reporter, opinionist, analyst, and die-hard fan. Welcome to the episode of the 49ers Ultimate Report. This is the YouTube channel. My name is John Jay, and I am a 49ers content creator. But welcome to another episode of the All Access 32 podcast. Today we have a great guest on to talk some NFL football. But before we jump into the show, I want to say thank you for those who are tuning in, watching. Shout out to everyone, all the 49er fans and any NFL fans who are stumbling onto the show. I really appreciate this, but let's start the show. Hello, my name is John Jay. This is the 49ers Ultimate Report YouTube channel, and this is part of my Gridiron All Day Podcast Network. This is one of my podcast shows. It is the All Access 32 podcast, where we feature many NFL teams, NFL franchises, talking about their team. So let's bring in our guest. This guest needs no introduction. The 49ers and Jaguars played this season. I had him on my show talking 49ers and Jaguars football. Now he's on the show. What is up, Andrew, known as the Jags War? How are you doing?
Hey, how's it going, John?
I'm doing really, really great. And thank you again for hopping on, talking Jaguars football today. And I think a lot of people who are watching, they know last year. You guys probably do not want to talk about last year, but you guys are looking forward for the future. Brighter days will come in Jacksonville. So hopefully you feel the same way as most fans, and hopefully your entire fan base, that you guys will have brighter days in the future. So thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be here.
Yeah. All right. So before we start the show, like we always do, just like in 49ers Ultimate Report fashion, we want to welcome in our guests by letting our guests know who they are, what they do. So let me let the fans know who you are. Introduce yourself to the fans and talk about Jags War.
Yeah, so my name's Andrew from the Jaguar Podcast, and I'm a Jacksonville Jaguars YouTuber / podcaster. And I've been a Jaguar fan pretty much all my life. I was born in, I lived in Jacksonville, Florida, and I was a Navy brat. So that's kind of how I became a Jaguars fan. And then just been following them since. And on my podcast, I do, latest news, player analysis, game recap, and pregame analysis. And I have some great player interviews that I do as well. We just had tight end Dan Arnold on the show last week, and had Jamal Agnew. That was a big one as well. So if you want to check out great content, subscribe to the Jaguar Podcast on YouTube and pretty much wherever you find podcasts.
All right. And thank you very much for letting us know what you do. Again, I've had you on my show. This is the second time you're on my show. I watch your content as much as I can. Again, I'm very busy. I do my own stuff, but he knows his Jaguar stuff. Not too many Jaguars, content creators out there, but it's great to have a Jaguars content creator on, as always. Let's always start off with the show by saying hello to those in the chat. And we're gonna start out with CG Ruthless Sports. CG Ruthless Sports, a diehard 49er fan. He's also a huge fan of wrestling. If you've been watching this stuff, he's been talking wrestling. This guy does it all. I don't know how he does it. Every single day, posts multiple videos. Shout out to CG Ruthless. And then shout out to Payo Time. Payo Time, my boy. And I've been told by Payo Time that you've been on this show talking, Rams and Jaguars. So Payo Time's a good dude. So any friend of Payo is a friend of mine. So shout out to Payo. He says, great stream, host and guest top tier. Right there, Payo. Kind words. CG says what's up to his boy Payo. Payo also and CG are good boys. And CG says, hey, Jags War. Jags War. It's hard to say that off the tongue.
Yeah, it's kind of a play on words.
Yeah, I'm not trying to, mispronounce it. Crazy Jews is in the house. What's up? How are you doing? How are you doing? And feel free to, if you have any questions about the Jaguars, feel free to ask our guest. He will answer any questions if you have any questions for our guest. But let's start the show with this new segment that I started. It's called "What's on Your Mind," and usually we always start off just jumping into the topics, but we all know that everyone has things that they want to talk about. So this is your 2 minutes to talk about anything Jaguars news, any rumors you've been hearing, any headlines that you want to spotlight. What is going on in the Jaguars news? So feel free to update us or anything you want to let us know about the Jaguars.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things. One comes to my head is, how is Trevor Lawrence how's his second year going to be? I mean, he has a new coach, Doug Peterson, who is definitely an upgrade from what we had last season with Urban Meyer, who's probably the biggest NFL flop, coaching flop in history. So it'll be very interesting to see how Doug Peterson gets this organization on track, his football team. And so that'll be very interesting to watch. I think it'll still be a development year for Trevor Lawrence. He's learning a new system again. Last year doesn't really count because I feel like that the system was just not very good. So he's got a new coaching staff. So it'll be exciting to watch. Another thing I've been thinking about is James Robinson, our running back. He's coming off of a torn Achilles. So he's recovering pretty well. There's been videos posted of him on Instagram and Twitter of him, running now. So that's very promising. And he's going to be a key component of this offense because, Trevor Lawrence going into pretty much his first year again, Robinson's going to have to help take some of that pressure off of Trevor. Trevor's not going to be he can't be the only weapon the Jags have. They can't be depending on him to win games. It's a team game. So, we got to run the football if we want to stay competitive in these games.
Yeah. The thing that I do, again, I don't cover the Jaguars as well, is that last year, the Urban Meyer situation, all those, things, whatever. I'm not going to even touch that. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence, drafted number one. You guys, I think you guys lost your running back that you guys drafted. I think he was out for the season, ETN.
Yeah.
So
yep.
That's to be another question. How is he going to bounce back from an injury year? It will be technically his rookie year because he did not play last year. So I did like Travis Etienne. He was a good pick. I saw him on, I forgot what college he went to, but yeah, I saw a lot of his games. Yeah, I saw a lot of his games. So it's basically, like I said, there's a lot of things, bright future, a lot of young, great talent. We're going to talk about the young talent you guys drafted. Of course, you had the first overall pick. We'll talk all about that stuff. Crazy Jews, I think you really, kind of answered this already. He says, do you think Trevor Lawrence is the answer at quarterback?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell, but I think he did show a lot of kind of streaks of greatness there towards the end of the season, especially in that Colts game. He made a tremendous throw off of like a bad snap. He was in the shotgun, the ball went over his head. He caught it, got out of dodge and threw it like an amazing touchdown pass. He had a pretty good game against the Dolphins in London. I was very, very impressed. So I think he could be the answer in the long run. We just have to see. Time will tell.
All right. We got I think we got another. What changes Trent Baalke? What changed Trent Baalke? He went aggressive this offseason, which is rare. So did he go like aggressive in the offseason? Did he jump in, get a lot of top free agents? So what did Trent Baalke do different that he did not do last year?
Yeah, you have to wonder whether Doug Peterson was really kind of driving a lot of things behind the scenes because, Trent Baalke really didn't do anything last season or, last off season. We didn't really pick up a lot of amazing players outside of, Marvin Jones Jr. and Jamal Agnew, to name a few. But, I think Doug Peterson was really probably driving the majority of that. And we had some, I think we had like either the largest salary cap this offseason or second largest. So, I don't know, man. I think Doug Peterson probably drove most of that. Trent Baalke, I know 49er fans are not huge advocates of Trent Baalke or fans of him. And I'd say I would be in the same group as well, just because of I don't know, man. I think he's going to be a problem for the Jaguars down the road.
Yeah. Speaking of Trent Baalke, I will say this: he was one of the reasons why the Harbaugh, that team, the coaching staff were ripped apart. It was just a very toxic situation. There was a lot of underlining things that happened after the 2014 season. But when it comes to Trent Baalke, like he's a good mouthpiece. And personally, like what I do know about your owner, I have a lot of respect for your owner. He's a really good dude. He's got the money, but I do think he needs to like bring in the right, people, the right general managers. Because again, compared to our owner, and again, I don't want to talk about it. Compared to our owner, I would rather have your owner running my Niners, because he will be, willing to do things that our owner, can. And he had Trent Baalke there from 2007 to I think like 2016, so about a decade. And during that time, it was a dumpster fire. It was a dumpster fire, and so hopefully, he's changed and learned from the experience. But don't really want to talk about Baalke.
Yeah.
Crazy Jews, which rookie are excited to see start for your team?
Yeah, I think for me, the two rookies that I have my eyes on are Trayvon Walker at outside linebacker / edge, and then Devin Lloyd, who we drafted as a linebacker in the first round. I think he was like the 27th pick. Probably one of the best, if not the best, linebacker in this draft, and we really needed help in the linebacking core. So those are two players I'm really having my eyes on, and especially Trayvon Walker. Back to him. I mean, we need help on the outside pass rush. So I think if he could take some of the heat off of Josh Allen, maybe take a double team, but get some pressure upfield, that's going to be essential for us, being competitive in our division.
All right. Keep asking your questions or your thoughts, but let's move on to the Jaguars. The Jaguars off season, basically going for free agent, the draft, all the stuff. And we're gonna start off with the free agency. First of all, what did the Jaguars do this free agency? Did they bring any players? I know you guys got Doug Peterson. So let's start off with that. Let's talk about Doug Peterson. Why did they bring him in there? What did he do in the interviews, or what did the organization see that maybe Doug Peterson can turn the Jaguars around?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think Doug Peterson just won his resume, right? Amazing resume, Super Bowl winning coach with the Philadelphia Eagles, almost went to the Super Bowl again the following year. Just experience, man. He's a quarterback too. He was a quarterback, in the NFL, played for some really good teams. I think he played for Green Bay, a couple others, but he brings in that experience. He's a good culture guy. So, I mean, yeah, and this football team needs stability right now. I mean, there's just been too much drama with the Urban Meyer, fiasco, and we need stability in that locker room. And I think he's going to be the guy to bring it. And I think he's going to bring a lot of experience and help Trevor Lawrence at the quarterback spot. Him being a quarterback as well. I think he was a quarterback's coach and a coordinator before he was a head coach. So I think that's going to be super helpful for Trevor Lawrence's development and will really help this team get back on track.
Yeah. So Doug Peterson, was the head coach where the Philadelphia Eagles won a Super Bowl. But then after, they lost a Super Bowl, they were not the same team. Carson Wentz, dealt with the injuries, and even still when he was in the Indianapolis, he still had to deal with with injuries. So that's something that probably was one of the reasons why he was let go in Philadelphia. But he's not a bad coach. Like I was having an argument with a fan who does not like Doug Peterson, but Doug Peterson is not as bad. He has shown his resume, what he's able to do, and giving a Super Bowl to Philadelphia again. It's not easy to win a Super Bowl constantly. Not everyone is lucky to be like the Patriots, the Steelers, the Cowboys, the 49ers, teams that have a lot of Super Bowls. So it's hard to build a culture, and for him, and I do hope he does well. Again, the division that you are in right now, uh, just my opinion, I don't know what's going to happen with the Titans. I don't know how well Henry is going to return. That's their offense. So if he's not good, I don't know what's going to happen with the Tennessee Titans. The Colts look like the best team overall right now on paper. The Texans, I don't know what's going on in that situation. That's dumpster fire. So the Jaguars could be a surprise team in that division. Like I said, there's always that dark horse team that it's predicted to be at the bottom of the division, but over exceeds. So with Doug Peterson bringing him in, I think that's someone who's going to try to fix the culture. You got to wait a couple of years before you become a real top contender. And then when it comes to free agency, were there any big splashes that you guys made, or did you guys just add like small depth pieces for your team? What did you do in free agency?
Yeah, we had a pretty big free agency. I mean, Christian Kirk, we picked him up from Arizona in free agency. I mean, he got one of the largest contracts, I believe, in as a wide receiver. So, and we kind of blew up the wide receiver free agency market. So you're welcome, right? But anyways, I think he's run some great routes. He's got a lot of speed. And he's got a lot to prove, I think, for this upcoming season. So he'll be somebody to watch out for. But I think he's going to help this wide receiving core. We also picked up Foye Oluokun from the Atlanta Falcons at linebacker. So that was a big pickup. I mean, I think he's going to be a great player. He led the team and led the league in tackles last year with the Falcons. So. That'll be great, and we need help in the linebacking core. We're going to have Devin Lloyd there, probably I imagine he'll be starting, as a rookie, probably weak side linebacker, and Oluokun will be the Mike, but brings a lot of experience, and we need it. This defense needs a lot of help, and it'll definitely be interesting to watch, but those are the two big ones I can think of. Another one I could think of was Arden Key, who we actually got in free agency, former 49ers. So I'm sure you're familiar with him, but he's going to bring, I think, a lot of leadership to this defensive line, a good pass rusher, and that we need help on the outside with the pass rush. So I think he'll be a rotational player, but when I watched his film, I was really, excited and impressed with what I saw.
Just at this moment, when you talked about Arden Key, I'm going to say something. I am not happy you guys got him. And one of the things last year is that near the end of the year, starting after that Cardinals, that blowout, Arden Key started to show up. He started to step up as that player that he was drafted. When he was with the Raiders, horrible dumpster fire situation. He comes to San Francisco to play. He was happy just to get out of that dumpster fire. And he basically called out, what was going to happen. And he basically was mocking the Raiders. And he had a really good second half of the year playoff. Arden Key, we did not use him as an every down, player. And he was basically Nick Bosa's backup. And eventually they moved him to the other side near the end of the year. And he had 6 sacks to finish off the remainder of the season in the playoffs. Arden Key is legit. And I don't know the defensive style that you guys run, but if you guys basically utilize him well, Arden Key could be a really good cornerstone at that edge. I'm not saying he's going to be like Nick Bosa or all the best pass rushers, but as a guy to have, you guys got a really, really good player. I don't know what was the amount of money you guys paid him, but man, I am not happy. So yeah, that's a good plus for you, and that's coming from a 49er fan who a lot of people say, "Don't worry, John, don't worry. Arden Key's gonna be a bust over there." Yeah, right. Yeah, right. No, I don't want to hear it. So
I think it's
I'm still,
a great point you make, man. Like, because I didn't even think about really like the scheme is a great call out because our defensive coordinator Mike Caldwell, he's been known to run kind of a mixture of 4-3 and 3-4, and I think bringing in Arden Key, I think matches that kind of style perfectly because, and I think it's a reason why we drafted Trayvon Walker, which was edge rusher out of Georgia, and a lot of people were kind of scratching their heads about that. And I think the reason is because of the mixture of schemes that they want to run. They want to run 3-4, they want to run 4-3, and run a lot of different packages where they're bringing in more linebackers, stacking the box. So I think it could be really exciting, and I think he's a player, kind of a sleeper player. Could be like a sleeper player that really shines.
all right. So we have a comment from CG. He says, according to Lauren, apparently she also talks Jacksonville Jaguars. She told him, so he told CG, Travis Etienne can be like your Deebo Samuel. Agree or disagree? What are your thoughts on that?
I would say I agree. I agree with that to a certain extent. I mean, I think, is he going to be as powerful as a runner as Deebo Samuel? I mean, I don't know about that, but I would agree that he would be used as a receiving back, right? Like he's going to catch passes out in the flats. He's going to line up in the slot. I don't think he's going to be like the cowbell running back. I think that's going to be either Snoop Connor if James Robinson doesn't, return for the first game or first couple games. But the cowbell 3-down back will likely be James Robinson if he's healthy and ready to go. But I think the player I see more like a Deebo Samuel type of role would be Laviska Shenault, who CG called out in the comments there. He's a guy who can run the ball kind of like Deebo Samuel, and is just a bruiser. I mean, he's just the yards after catch for him. Yeah, I mean, he just runs people over. So I would see Laviska being more as taking the role as like a Deebo Samuel type of player, as opposed to Travis Etienne, who's more of like he's just going to be a guy that you can, an extra receiver almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is how I see it. Deebo Samuel is not a running back. Last year, the misconception that the NFL does not understand. All our running backs from week 1 to week 8, our top 3 running backs were hurt.
Yeah.
So after we lost that very bad style against the Arizona Cardinals, and Cardinals fans continue to rub it in my face. Anyway, there are little brothers that we have to deal with every single year. The point is that Deebo is going to become a running back. I mean, he's going to be a wide receiver again. Not a running back no more, wide receiver. We drafted Danny Gray, a wide receiver that we got from SMU, who can do the Deebo Samuel thing. We got Ray McLeod, who's a return specialist, but could be also used at that run game. And of course, the running back that we drafted from LSU does the same thing that Deebo does, but it's more of a running back. So you have that system. So we are going to basically do better when it comes to the depth of our running backs. But at the end of the day, Travis Etienne, again, like I agree, he's not a bell cow. He's not a bell cow. He can catch some passes. He'll be like the best way for me to describe him as a 49 as Raheem Mostert, can run the football like 10 to 15 times and can get like 3 to 4 catches per game, about 19 touches, less than 20 touches per game. And he won't be a bell cow, but that's probably the best thing. And because when he was in, as you mentioned, Clemson, the speed that he had reminds me of that. That's the best way to describe him if I had to use a player that was on the 49ers.
Yeah, and he also played with Trevor Lawrence too. I mean, people forget that. So I mean, they're going to work really well together. Yeah.
All right, Crazy Juice was making a little wrestling reference about Trent Baalke. All right. CG says Kimaku Toure, it's a hard name to pronounce, can break out under Kasarik. He's under the radar. We signed from the Colts. hopefully that is true. He was injured a lot in Indianapolis. CG, go look at his stuff. He was unable to play in a lot of games. Last year he played pretty well and he had a good career here, but I worry about his health. Travis Etienne supposed to line up around okay. My boy David, 49er fan, he says Niners all damn day. Shout out to my boy David. And Crazy Jew says, well, at this point, Arden Key needs to succeed in Jacksonville because if he doesn't, he's going to be compared to Kerry Hyder Jr. when Hyder was in the Sea Roost. Oh, man. Nah, you guys ain't going to let him go. I'm sorry to anyone who says that Arden Key's going to, fake injury and it's going to play horrible to come back to the 49ers. There's been a lot of that on Twitter. But anyway. All right. Although I think Arden Key is going to be just fine with the Jags. And then CG says, just have to put that there because Travis Etienne seems intriguing. All right. Let's keep moving on with the show. And now let's talk about the NFL draft. You guys, for the second straight year, I think in a row, you guys had the number one pick.
Yep.
Last year, you got Trevor Lawrence. You drafted Trayvon Walker. So let's talk about this. The first pick in the draft, was it the right selection? Because everyone was talking about the Michigan edge rusher. What stood out Trayvon Walker to go with him versus other selections at number one?
Yeah, I think he's a really versatile player. His stat line isn't out of this world, and I think that's because of the defense and that he was in. And I mean, they had so many great players, Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean. I mean, they had just a lot of great players around him. So I think, people kind of sleep on Trayvon Walker, but I mean, I think he's going to really work well in that scheme that Mike Caldwell, the defensive coordinator for the Jaguars, is setting up and building. He can drop back in coverage. He ran a 4.5 140. I mean, that's really fast. I think he was in the 98th percentile for speed for draft prospects in the 2022 draft. So I think he's fast. I think he plays in a better conference than Aiden Hutchinson did, and Hutchinson just got shut out in that that Georgia. I think they played Georgia game. I mean, he was just nowhere to be found on the field, and I think he just wasn't playing against the level or the caliber of talent that Trayvon Walker was. So I think Walker is going to be better. I mean, Hutchinson could still be good. I mean, he's got a lot of drive. I mean, he's a great pursuit guy. He's going to run over offensive linemen, and he's got a great bull rush. But I don't see him as a super, I don't think he's a great technique guy. I think he's just more of a bruiser and a power rusher.
Mm-hmm. All right. So CG, hopefully he answered the question for you why they went with Walker. Yeah. In the NFL draft board, he was not considered, in the top 5. He was still a good prospect. So a lot of people were wondering why they picked him up. And again, a lot of people forget that when there is a scheme, and usually the old traditional NFL was you pick the best player, you develop them in your system. Now it's the other way around. You pick the player that fits your system. That's why a lot of people forget why some people are, why is this player dropping? Why is this player dropping? Maybe Walker fits the Jaguars defensive system way better than Hutchinson, no matter how better or, the best prospect in the country. And I saw some of Walker's film, some of his tape. Good player. Is he, better than Hutchinson? Only time will tell. But that is my thoughts about that. All right, we have a Bears fan again, a Bears fan in the building. For those who do not know, and for you who don't know, the Niners are playing the Bears, and he's having fun with me. San Francisco worse than everyone. So I want to acknowledge this dude to let him know I have no ill will. I know some fans do not take kindly to his words, but remember, he's a Bears fan. He's not supposed to like our team, so I wanted to just give him a little bit of a shout out to show no ill will. All right. CG says 5.5 sacks last year. Not bad for a rotational. Well, get enough depth to keep him healthy. All right. Yeah, we talked about that. Crazy Jews must be a Bulldogs fan. All right. Walker seems like a product of a great defense in Georgia. That's my thoughts. And he says, can be good. All right. So let's now talk about the rest of the draft from your second round selection, all your selections. And I wanted to know, how did they do in the 2022 NFL draft? Did they hit it out the ballpark A plus? Did they not do so well? Did they have an average draft, a C grade? What uh, grade would you give the drafts, and what players did you like that the Jaguars drafted?
Yeah, I would give them an A minus. I thought they did really well, and it was surprising because I don't think we really had a good draft in 2021. There were some head scratchers in there, but this one I thought was really well. It was pretty defensive, focused. I think we had 5 defensive players that we drafted and 2 offensive players, including an offensive lineman and a running back. So I thought it was great. We really shored up the defense with Trayvon Walker at edge, Devin Lloyd, who's going to be, I think, a great player. Chad Muma, I think, is going to be another great player. Plays with a lot of heart, sideline to sideline linebacker. And then we invested in the offensive line. We got Luke Fortner out of Kentucky and Snoop Connor at running back. So I think he adds a lot of depth to the running back room. And will help if James Robinson is delayed in his return. So I think we hit all our marks.
Yes. So one name that I heard you talk about was Luke Fortner from, I think, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a draft video on my channel about a few months ago, as the combine was happening, doing some draft profiles. And Luke Fortner, that's a tough name to pronounce. Basically, I really liked them. I really liked them. And one thing that I do not like about my 49ers, they never draft the players we really want. And they really surprised us when we drafted Drake Jackson from UCLA. No, from USC, my bad. Both those LA schools get me tongue-tied. But from USC, he was a first-round prospect that fell just before the third round, and he fell in our lap. At the time, I was not a big fan of him, but yeah, Luke Fortner. I
Fortner.
apologize.
That's Fortner. Yeah.
I'm gonna say Fort and then Nerd. Fortner. There you go. Perfect. I really liked him. I saw his tape. He's a really good prospect, developmental prospect, but can develop into a starter around year 2, possibly year 3. Could be, a player that, again, I have a different, draft board. I don't do, how the PFF does it and all the other draft experts do it. I do it very differently. And again, I get this from someone who covers, NFL. You have the 1 to 32 board, that board. Then you have the horizontal board and the vertical board, and every team has that. So when they look at the draft, they were like, hey, his film is good. He's still on the board. He's going to be a really, really good player. I think he was a second round prospect. I don't know where you guys drafted him, but he was a second round prospect. So I really, really like that player. So just for you drafting it, I'm going to give you a great and your offseason looking good. Like, you took Arden Key, a player I really wanted my Niners to keep, and you drafted the player that I really wanted. So
okay.
So a lot of players that I really wanted goes to all these other teams.
Yeah, Fortner, I think, will be good. Good football IQ, and he's versatile. He can play guard, he can play center, and we lost one of our veterans to retirement, Brandon Lindner. He played center, so he'll. I see Fortner backing up Tyler Shatley, or maybe competing for that guard spot.
Yeah. Okay. And then just a little bit of some of your other draft picks that you talked about. At the 65th pick, he was a second round grade, as I mentioned, from Kentucky. And then you guys did mostly a lot of trades. So, but you got your franchise player, Trayvon Walker, and one player that I really like is Luke Faulkner, and all the great stuff in the offseason. So I'm going to start to agree that you guys did pretty well in the draft. All right. Let me say hello to my boy, Bryant. Bryant is in the house. What is up, man? He says, what's up, Crazy Juice, CG, and John J? What is up, my boy, Bryant? Crazy Juice says, what's up? CG says, what's up? And CG says, yeah. I can't pronounce that.
Yanni Ngakwe.
Return to the AFC South. What are your thoughts on him? Why Jaguars move on from him?
Yeah, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. I think I've always been a big fan of him. I didn't really kind of agree with his exit, his kind of feud with Tony Khan, who's Shad Khan's son, who's I think the EVP of football operations for the Jaguars. They kind of had a little thing going on Twitter about trading. Yannick wanted out of there. He finally got traded to the Vikings, but I liked him. I mean, I thought he was a great pass rusher. Not as good against the run, but I mean, he always made plays. So yeah, I don't know why we couldn't get a deal done with him. But it just didn't happen. Some of that you could maybe attribute to Tom Coughlin, who later departed the organization. But I think he's going to be somebody to watch out for. I mean, when we play the Colts, he's going to have a lot of that's going to be a revenge game, those two games for him. Like he wants blood, man. He wants to have a big game against the Jaguars. So I think he's going to be somebody that we may have to double down on in terms of like pass protection, and it's going to be tough for us.
All right, now we're going to talk about the schedule release. So 2 weeks after the draft, every NFL team, I did a show on my channel about the schedule. I don't know if you did a little show about your schedule. So the first thing I want to ask you before we go to the question is that the first question I want to ask you, and I just lost the question I was going to ask you. Oh, here we go. When you look at this schedule, here you go. My brain today is not perfect. It happens, little lapse, just letting everyone know it happens. You forget stuff, but no worries. But back to the question that just popped back in my head: is this a tough schedule? Is this an easy schedule, or is this just an average schedule? When you look at the strength of schedule, are there some winnable games, or do you think that the strength of schedules is just basically the average record of the opponents last year? So what are your thoughts on the strength of schedule, and do you guys think that your schedule is tough or easy? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a really tough schedule, man. I mean, we got some really great teams that we have to play, especially in division with Tennessee, who's going to be, I think, the best in our division. The Colts aren't going to be a team that we can sleep on either. So, I mean, I think it really gets harder. The schedule, probably the second half of the schedule is pretty brutal. We open up against Washington. I think we can win. We can beat the Commanders. I think Detroit could be a winnable game. Houston, I think, will probably be the worst in the AFC South. So I think, that'll be probably 2 wins on our schedule. The other ones are up in the air, man. There's just some really tough teams in this schedule. And, I mean, Dallas, I think, is a team that we have to play that's out of division, and NFC team. And I mean, I don't think that's going to be an easy game by any means. I think we play the Eagles as well, which will be a revenge game, I know, for a lot of Philly fans. So I think it's going to be a tough schedule. I could see maybe if we surprise some teams, maybe we sneak away with maybe 6-7 wins. But I think it's going to be a rebuild. Hey, John, I can't hear you. You may be muted.
Yeah, it's StreamYard. All right, so back to the comments. CG says, great stream, back to work. Keep up the good work, John J. Jags War, I will get you on soon. So it looks like he's sending you an invitation if you would like to go on his channel.
Definitely. Thanks, CG.
All right. Then we got Bryant. He says, catch you next time. So another person that has to leave. Crazy Jew says, thoughts on facing Matt Ryan twice this year?
Yeah, I mean, he's a good quarterback, great veteran quarterback, played pretty well over in Atlanta. I think, went to the Super Bowl. Obviously, that's a game that people probably Falcons fans get a little salty about, but I think in terms of mobility, he's not very mobile quarterback. So I think for those games those 2 games, we have to get pressure on him. And I think when you get pressure in his face, he kind of crumbles. I think he's kind of like Jared Goff. Like, people were really high on Jared Goff for a while when he was playing with the Rams, but if you can get pressure on him, you can eliminate him. He's a non-factor. So I think you'll see the Colts go to their running game a lot with Matt Ryan, with Jonathan Taylor, who's an amazing running back. But I think if we can shut down the run and get pressure on Matt Ryan, we could potentially win those 2 games.
All right. Speaking of Jared Goff, a former Rams quarterback, we have a Rams YouTuber. His name is the Ramilia Sports Report. He is a good dude. I would suggest you reaching out to me. He's a great guy. He says, props, John Jay. Great guest. Here's a question for your guest. Who is a better quarterback? Here we go again. Trey Lance or his new quarterback? So he's probably asking, who's a better quarterback, Trey Lance or Trevor Lawrence?
I mean, I'm a Jaguars fan, so I'm probably gonna side with Trevor Lawrence, but I don't know, man. I don't know if there's enough. I don't know if there's enough film out on both quarterbacks yet. I mean, I think with him last year, do you really count last year? That's a tough one. I mean, I'm gonna go with Trevor Lawrence just because I'm a Jaguars fan, but I think it's a great question. What are your thoughts, John?
Like, for me, I said this during the draft process. The pro-ready guy, the guy who's, this guy rarely lost during his high school days and college days. He was really good. He was the best athlete on the field during, his high school and college day. When he was a freshman, people were talking about where is he going to be drafted because he was that good. Now, yes, unfortunately, number 1 picks always go to the teams that had, a poor season, and it's not his fault. I think if the team puts around the right pieces, Trevor Lawrence can succeed. I do think that with the skill sets that he has, I do respect Trevor Lawrence. Now, again, you guys are still rebuilding. You're putting the team around him. I'm not expecting Trevor Lawrence to be Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers next season. If there is growth, you'll see the growth. When it comes to Trey Lance, the biggest issue that everyone I think can really agree upon is the lack of playing in college. In his freshman season, didn't play. His sophomore season, played 17 games, and then he played that one little exhibition game in 2020. So 18 starts in 3 college seasons. And then he comes to the 49ers, plays 10 quarters. So Trey Lance, the knock on him is that he's not playing football. So we want to see if Trey Lance can be on the field and see if he can succeed. I think this will be a good year to find out, because I do think Trey Lance and Trevor Lawrence, 2 best quarterbacks from the draft class. And that's just my thoughts about it. I know a lot of people are like, what about Justin Fields and Zach Wilson and Mac Jones? People know how I feel about Mac Jones. I'm not going to touch that. Zach Wilson is in a very bad situation right now. I feel bad for that kid. And Justin Fields, because we had this goofy Bear fan in here, he's going to be the one that's going to be in the worst situation. So come at me again and say San Francisco worse than everybody. So that's going to little thing for him. Tommy says, Trevor Lawrence is a good, but the Jags are a dumpster fire. Do you agree with Tommy Huxley?
I think the organization is still recovering right now. I mean, that's why they brought in Doug Peterson. We'll see how the season goes. I mean, I think for me, the big telltale will be the second year, Doug Peterson's second year. How does that go? Like, how do the Jaguars perform? How do they draft? How are the decisions being made? Is Trent Baalke going to be a problem for Doug Peterson? I think he will be. I think Trent Baalke is going to kind of have that fight for power.
Yeah. All right. So first of all, what's up, Tommy? Thanks for hopping on. This guy loves to be a goofball. All right. Bryant. Oh, he's back. He said he had to, but now he's back. He says Trevor Lawrence is going to be really good. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Now let's talk to the second part of the question. I wanted to know in the 17 games that you guys have, I know you're playing the Titans, the Colts, and the Texans, twice. So you're divisional. Which divisional game, like for the 49ers, we have to deal with the Seahawks. That's been our rival, but we've always had a rivalry with the Rams. What is a divisional team, those two games that you really have to watch, and a non-divisional game that is the most intriguing when you look at the 17-game schedule?
Yeah, for us, I think the hardest divisional matchup will be the Titans. Great football team. I mean, if Derrick Henry gets going, it could be a long and bad day for the Jaguars. But yeah, I would say the Titans. The Colts will be kind of runner-up. I think that they think they have a pretty good football team. Yannick Ngakoue, who's an ex-Jaguar. Jonathan Taylor, great running back who can pound the football and do some amazing things. And then Matt Ryan, who's a pretty good quarterback.
All right. So, that is the divisional game. What is a non-divisional game that like you really want to see that you're like? I know, besides your divisional games, you have 11 non-divisional. Which is a non-divisional game that I have to watch this team? I know it doesn't mean or there's some significance that they have with the Jaguars. What is a non-divisional matchup that you really want to watch?
Yeah, I would say it wouldn't just be one, but I would say that there's two. The Eagles, that would be one, just because of Doug Peterson's past with the Eagles and winning a Super Bowl with them. I think a lot of people will be watching that game. And I think that the Cowboys, that'll be an interesting one, specifically because I want to go to that game in Jacksonville, and it's around December, so it's not too hot.
All right. So Tommy Huxley says, John, I'm speaking facts, not being goofy. Okay. So he does believe. So, all right. Tommy says that your organization is a dumpster fire. So that is his opinion. Hey, if that's what Tommy believes, I know you're a Jacksonville. Do you agree your team is a dumpster fire?
I mean, I think it was, and I think it's getting better. I mean, I think Doug Peterson hopefully helps fix the culture, but I mean, you can't deny the Urban Meyer dumpster fire, right? I mean, not getting on the plane. I mean, I could do, if you let me go, off on Urban Meyer and talk for a while, I could do an hour on Urban Meyer at least.
All right. So we won't go there because you probably have a lot to say, but now we're now going to a fun segment. This is now our 5th time we're doing this. It's called Rapid Fire. So let's bring in right here the ticker called Rapid Fire AFC South Edition. So for those who have missed Rapid Fire, welcome to Rapid Fire. And if you guys want to play along, you guys can. So let me explain the rules to our guest, and then I will also explain the rules to those in the chat. So for those who've been watching Rapid Fire, we've had an NFC West segment where I had to talk smack about my team, but also talk about the good things about our team. But then I had a fun time going after the Cardinals, the Seahawks, and the Rams. So if you want to jump right in and have your voice heard, if you want to give any of the teams credit, or if you want to say something about the team, this is your time. This is called Rapid Fire. So let me explain the rules. You're going to talk about your Jaguars team. You're going to have 1 minute to talk about the great things, their history, the offseason, things that you just want to spotlight and let fans know why you support the team. And then we're going to go and talk about the downside of being a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. So welcome to Rapid Fire. Do you want to play?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. Rapid Fire, Part 5, AFC South Edition. Let's start off with the Jacksonville Jaguars. You have 60 seconds to name positives about the organization, positives about the current team right now. Let's go. Rapid Fire, talk about great things about the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, the Jags, fun team to watch. was an expansion team in '95 when I essentially started becoming a fan. We have a Hall of Famer, Tony Baselli, left tackle for the Jaguars. And we have some other great players as well, like Fred Taylor, who's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame, hopefully. Jimmy Smith, Keenan McCardell, two great wide receivers. We surprised a lot of teams our second year as an expansion team in the NFL. We beat the Buffalo Bills. We beat the Denver Broncos and surprised a lot of people. And we've done that, years down the line with, David Garrard. We had some other great players like Maurice Jones-Drew. Just a fun team to watch in Florida, great weather. And, we almost went to the Super Bowl again in 2018. And I think we're going to surprise a lot of people.
All right. Now comes the tough thing. You have to be a little bit hard on your team. There must have been a lot of things that they have disappointed you. So now, second part of Rapid Fire, Jacksonville Jaguars. What are cons and things that you do not want to talk about? But we're doing Rapid Fire. The cons of being a Jacksonville Jaguars fan.
The cons. One would be the losing seasons. It's been tough as a Jags fan to just be frustrated and not, having the success. Some other things, the drama just with Urban Meyer and some of the locker room stuff going on with the Jaguars. Players kind of rotating in and out, like good players like Leonard Fournette, not getting an extension and being released, losing Jalen Ramsey, Yannick Ngakoue. Those were some of the real frustrating things. Calais Campbell's another one. Just guys that I really enjoyed and have a lot of fans. I think the Jaguars fans love. So it's tough doing that, and all the jerseys I have to buy, man. They just keep changing. It's tough to be a Jags fan.
All right, so that is Rapid Fire. Now it's your favorite. You get to now talk about your divisional rivals, but unfortunately, we have to give credit to your divisional rivals in Rapid Fire. So we're going to start off with the Houston Texans. This is probably going to be really hard, but let's talk about the Houston Texans, the positive things about the Houston Texans organization. Rapid Fire, great organization. Let's talk the great stuff about the Houston Texans.
Yeah, I mean it's an organization that's going through a rebuild, but I think there's some exciting things. They have a new coach. I'm blanking on his name. I can't remember off the top of my head, but Davis Mills, he showed some promise, so he may be kind of a sleeper quarterback for the Texans. And I mean, they could surprise some people, but yeah, I mean, they might be two of our divisional wins for sure. So that's a positive thing as well.
All right. A little short and sweet, but now you're going to have some fun now about the Texans. The cons, why would a fan want to support a team? It's your rivals. If you have any memories that you would like to spotlight that, you want to give it to the Houston Texans. So now you get the Rapid Fire, the Houston Texans, some downsides that you want to remind Texans and the organization. Let's go. Rapid Fire, Texans. Let's put some negativity on.
Yeah, you I guess you lost JJ Watt, who I thought was a great player. You kind of messed that up. You had Bill O'Brien there, who's another coach was a disaster and kind of had a feud with JJ Watt there. There's reported they exchanged some words. So if you're pissing off JJ Watt and making him walk off the field in practice, that's not a good thing. So the culture in Houston is probably not the best. It's probably as bad, I would say, as the Jaguars was or is right now. But yeah, that's really the negatives I see.
All right. So no stories that you want to remind them.
No, not really. I try to be. It's tough being a Jags fan, so I try to go with the positivity.
All right. So now we're going to talk about the Tennessee Titans. So I don't know how you feel, if you like them or don't like them, but you have to say some positive things about the Tennessee Titans. So what is some great positive things about being a Tennessee Titans fan?
It's tough. I'm a Jags fan, and they're like our kryptonite, man. But I will say some positive things, that they have a great running back. Derrick Henry, I mean, probably a future Hall of Famer. So that there's a lot of great things there. You know, it's just fun to watch him play when he's not playing the Jaguars. And I just, it's hard for me to say that, but yeah, I mean, Derrick Henry's got to be the best, you know, piece of that offense. You know, I do like, I think Tannehill is a quarterback you can't sleep on either. I mean, he could run when he gets out of the pocket, he could be dangerous. So, yeah, I mean, those are the two big positives I see for the Titans.
All right, so that's the Tennessee Titans. Now, you said they're your kryptonite, so there must have been some bad history that they have pissed you off. What are something that you want to let the fans know, or now it's the cons of Tennessee Titans, and if you have any memorable stories that you want to let them know that has pissed you off, feel free. It's rapid fire.
Yeah, it has to be 1999 AFC Championship game where they knocked us out. I believe we lost to them 3 times that season, and it was just really frustrating. So we were probably going to go to the Super Bowl that year. We had an amazing team, and then they ruined it for us. So, yeah, that's got to be my biggest disappointment as a Jags fan, you know, thinking about the Titans.
All right, so you're being very nice, which is okay. You're not going hard, but that's okay. Don't worry. But now we got to the team, which I believe is the division winner, the Indianapolis Colts, saving the best team for last. So let's talk about great things about the Indianapolis Colts. Your minutes starts now.
Yeah, for me, it's got to be Jonathan Taylor. I mean, he's just a really exciting running back to watch. And he has the last name as Fred Taylor and the same number, 28. So I didn't realize that for the longest time. But yeah, I mean, Jonathan Taylor, amazing player. And, you know, they have Yannick Ngakoue too, who I'm a big fan of. So it'll be tough watching him play the Jaguars.
All right, short and sweet. Now, last but certainly not least, rapid fire. Cons, anything that you want to get off your chest that the team has pissed you off about, or anything about the Colts that you just do not like. Feel free. Last minute, rapid fire, final segment.
Yeah, they screwed the whole situation up with Andrew Luck pretty badly. I mean, he's going to be a generational talent at quarterback, maybe even a Hall of Famer, and they messed that up. So the organization is they've made some mistakes, and that was definitely one of them. You know, and as the Colts, I mean, they have some history. The owner, I think it was Bob Irsay, was trying to bring a team to Jacksonville, an expansion team, and we just told him to turn around and go back where he came from. So there's that, and you know, that's really all I have to say. And they haven't beat us at home since I think it was 2014.
All right. Thank you very much for rapid fire. One thing I will say is that when I did rapid fire, my 49ers guy, he went in really good depth going after those NFC West. But some people are more nicer, some people are a little bit more, you know, strong about their opinions. But while we were doing rapid fire, we had some questions. All right, let's get Rudy's question. We talked about this earlier. He said, question, what are you worried Trent Baalke will not get it done like he could it with the 49ers? He really ruined the wide receiver market, giving that contract to Christian Kirk. Now it makes Niners have to pay Debo. So I don't know what your thoughts about that.
Yeah, Debo is probably going to get a huge deal at some point, right? You know, because of the Jaguars, so he can thank us. And it's also going to put a lot of pressure on Christian Kirk. He has a lot to prove, just getting all that money. So there's that. But, you know, I think, like I said previously, I think the biggest obstacle for Doug Peterson and him being successful in Jacksonville will be Trent Baalke. I don't understand why Shad Khan kept him around. It's just it's an eyebrow raiser for me. It's a head scratcher, whatever you want to call it, but I just don't get it. It may have something to do with some of the stuff that went on with Urban. I'm just going to speculate there. I have no facts, or, I'm not an insider. So that those are kind of my thoughts on it, but yeah, I think it'll be the biggest obstacle for Doug Peterson and him being successful or having a long-term tenure in Jacksonville.
All right, so Crazy Juice said, who in the NFC South has the best kicker?
That's a good question. This is going to sound bad. I know that I really follow the Jacksonville's kicker, but I'm trying to remember. It's tough. I'm drawing a blank on kickers right now in the AFC South.
Yeah, no worries. All right, so Tommy, while we were doing rapid fire, said, I never have anything to say about Rams, Seaferry, Seahawks, and the Red Chicken Cowards. So, all right, so Tommy got a little bit strong on his opinions. That's nice, he says. And then facts, they blew it big time. All right, and then Crazy Juice says, to be honest, the Colts are the best team in the AFC South in general. All right, Crazy Juice, thank you for that. Well, what a show. What a really, really great show we had on today. And it is always a pleasure having any fans from any team, especially you, Andrew, the Jags Roar podcast. And let everyone give a round of applause or say, thank you very much in the chat. Let's thank our guest, Jags Roar podcaster, Jags Roar. So before we go, just like we always do here on the 49ers Ultimate Report YouTube channel, you have let the fans know one last time who you are, where they can find you. Talk about your YouTube channel. If you have any type of social media, let the fans know who Andrew, the Jag Roar podcast, all this stuff. Here is your 2 minutes. Feel free to let the fans know one last time who you are.
Yeah, I'm Andrew from the Jaguar podcast, and if you want to get great no BS analysis on the Jaguars, come to my channel. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Apple Podcasts, pretty much wherever you get your podcast, and I do live play-by-play reactions. I do player analysis news. I actually have a lot of Jaguars players come on the show as well. So we just had tight end Dan Arnold on the show last week. We had Jamal Agnew, who is superstar specialist in the NFL, kick returner, wide receiver. We had him on the show, and it's pretty awesome to just get to talk to the players and get their point of view. So if you want to get that great content, come to my channel. You can find me on YouTube, the Jaguar Podcast. You can also find me on social media, Twitter, Instagram at Jaguar Podcast, and my website, www.thejaguarpodcast.com.
All right. Thank you very much for letting the fans know who you are. And again, while we are all 49er fans on this channel and every fan who's watching, I think they had a really fun time. They gave you a lot of great questions. They interacted with you. And we got to learn a little bit of the Jaguars. And this is one of the great things why this all access, because it gives us all access to 32 NFL teams. And one of them is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Hopefully in the years to come, you guys will be, again, at the top of that division. Continue, hopefully they continue to have some success. We don't know what's going to happen in the 2022 season, but I will say, as a 49er fan, good luck. Have a good year. Hopefully you guys win more games and are not drafting first overall anymore. So, yeah, and Tommy says, thanks for coming. So basically he says, thank you for being on the show. But with that said, everyone, thank you very much for tuning in to my another All Access 32 podcast, part of my network. It's Gridiron All Day Podcast Network here on the 49ers Ultimate Report YouTube channel. But one last time, this guy right here is John J. That guy over here is Andrew, the Jags Roar Podcast. Check him out. Follow him on all the social media platforms. And if you're looking for some information from the Jaguars, this is a good content creator. But with that said, everybody, I'm John J. This is the 49ers Ultimate Report. You guys have a good rest of your day. And go Niners. And let's even say, let's go Jaguars.
Thanks, guys. This is great. Thanks for having me on.
Let me get that. JYD coming up with the big sack. Quarterbacks beware, we on the prowl. Game day night, you could hear it in our growl. Intimidation on to keep their hearts racing. Eating other teams live on TV front of the nation. Spectacular defensive scheme.
This episode is available on the Jaguar Podcast YouTube channel. So if you stop by, make sure to subscribe and give this video a like. Also, these episodes are available on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and other major podcast distributors as well. So if you don't mind, please leave me a review and some feedback. I'd really appreciate that. If you'd like to connect with me on social media, my Twitter handle is @JagwarPodcast. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. This is Andrew signing off. Cheers.